Dying, death, dead, deceased, demise, departed, decay, decompose, disintegrate, dust. What's up, everybody? My name is Brad and welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the channel for the very first time. Either way, I appreciate you stopping by, hanging out for a while I talk about a book. And today we're back with a book review. I haven't done a book review since like last August, so it's been almost like it's been over a whole year since my last book review. I'm trying to get back into the swing of doing reviews, and hopefully this will be the start of that. This book I'm going to talk about today, actually, I read way back last year. It's probably been about a year since I've read this book. And I started writing my review. I use my written reviews as sort of a script for the videos so I can be succinct and not go off on rambling or tangents or miss a point that I was wanting to make specifically for the review. And I wrote like 95% of the review, and I just couldn't find the right words to close it out. I needed a specific word. This is just me personally. I needed to find the right words for it. I just couldn't find what those were. Finally, I've circled back around to it. I did finish it up, and I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. So hopefully you all will enjoy it as well. But again, I'm starting to ramble. We're going to get off the ramble and dive into the actual review itself. Today we're going to be talking about Crime Scene. It's a poetry collection by Cynthia Pelayo, and actually it just recently won the Bram Stoker Award for a poetry collection. Now, just because it says poetry, don't run away, don't flip off to something else. Just stick around for a minute. Let me talk about what this book is about, and then hopefully entice you to read some poetry. And I know poetry can scare a lot of people off, but stick around, give this one a chance while I sit down and talk about it. So this book, Crime Scene, it had me thinking a lot about death. We're surrounded by death every day. Almost so much so that we become numb to it. We become desensitized. Anytime you watch the news or you're scrolling around on social media, you're going to see death lurking, everywhere. And that is whether it is, another shooting or a bombing or casualties of war, or someone of some prominence has passed away, whether it's like a celebrity, athlete, politician, any loss of life due to natural disasters like floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, all that stuff. You see that every day in life, and you really don't think about it too much. Death is inescapable. That's nothing new. It's something we all have in common. It's the only guarantee we have in life is that one day we're all going to die. That's morbid to talk about and say, but that's the truth of it. Life is fleeting and it's precious, and it's something to be appreciated and coveted, not something to be disregarded with the flick of a thumb as we continue to scroll on through our different social media apps onto the next headline. Nowadays, death has become very impersonal. That is, until it becomes something that's personal. We're blessed with the ability to create life, but we're also cursed with the ease of which we can easily snuff it out. So Crime Scene, what is this collection actually about? And hold on, before we go any further, I do want to shout out the awesome cover art. Who is it done by? Let's take a gander. Let's check it out. This is done by Don Noble. I love the cover art on here. It's very striking. It looks really, really cool. But with a title like Crime Scene, you can probably guess, this is a dark poetry collection that is an exploration not only of death, but more specifically of murder, of lives being extinguished before their time. Someone else making the choice, making the decision to take someone else's life away. And Pelayo, she really taps into the emotions of grief and sadness, confusion, blame, denial, guilt, mourning, and pain. All of the pollutant byproducts of murder that can tarnish our souls. It's this tangled web with the victim resting at its center, and all the different strands of that web connecting together those who are dealing with this heavy burden of loss. And that can range to a number of people, whether it's the unfortunate innocents, the bystanders who maybe discover a dead body, to the friends and family whose loved one will never return home, or maybe even the detective whose job it is to seek out justice in this unjust world. So with this dark poetry collection, this one is a bit different from Pelayo's last collection of poetry, which was Into the Forest and All the Way Through. This one is also very much true crime, but I think these are very good companion pieces. They go well together, but this one is told in a different sort of way. This is an epic poem, and if you think back to in high school, if you had to read like the Epic of Gilgamesh or the Odyssey, it's sort of in line with those with how it is told. This is told through a series of reports that depict the chronology. I think I said that word correctly. The chronology of a body that was discovered by a young brother and sister, and then the following investigation that is headed up by this haunted figure, this haunted Agent K is the detective. The detective, she has her own past demons, her own things she's bringing in, her own baggage she's bringing in to this investigation once we meet her here. And it's her own past demons that she can't really seem to shake. They're trailing ever behind her like a shadow. And you combine that with the macabre nature of her job, dealing day in and day out with these mutilated bodies and death. And it just seems like she's almost tormented or haunted by death itself. Those images, they have burned into her like a brand searing flesh. She can try to hide it and cover it up and put on a smile and put up this sort of facade so people don't really know all the emotional stuff that she's going through. But the emotional baggage, it will always linger in the dark recesses of her mind, just waiting to be stumbled over, the contents spilling out. So I've said it before, and at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I'm going to say it again, but if you've been a fan of the channel for any amount of time, watch any of my other videos, you've probably heard me say this before. But for me personally, it's the human monsters that are the most terrifying monsters of all. The capacity that we have as humans to inflict such violence and pain and suffering and death upon our fellow man will forever be far scarier than anything a fictional monster or creature will ever be able to do. And Crime Scene focuses heavily on that theme of human monsters, how we are truly the ones who are not to be trusted, how another may smile to your face and then proceed to stab you in the back, sometimes quite literally. There's a certain passage I wanted to read, and it's from near the end of the book. It's from report number 78. And I just want to read the ending part of this poem because this really stuck out to me, this theme of humans as monsters. And that actually is the first line of the passage I want to read. Human as monster, blaming destruction on fables and legends. What's caused the most destruction and suffering? A warm beating heart. It's us. And it's those fables and legends that the poem was talking about there at the end. The vampires and werewolves and boogeyman, all our favorite cryptids and all that kind of stuff. Those were all birthed from our own imaginations. And if our minds are able to create such monsters, conjure up such monsters, what other evils might they actually be capable of? Maybe those things are just man's attempt at pretending that there is something worse out there, something more heinous and callous than ourselves. Put the blame on the monsters lurking in the dark because they're far scarier than us. But I think that's just all mind game. We created those to, look, we're not as bad as those things over there, when in reality, we're probably much worse. Cynthia Pelayo's poetry, it's sharp, it's raw, and it's unrelenting. It's the blade of a knife flaying away layers of flesh, leaving one's nerves exposed. A lyrical dance macabre crime scene casts a morbid light into the shadows to reveal the horrific monsters who will death with such callousness, to instead finally only the reflection of ourselves glaring back. This collection will leave the reader hollowed out and haunted in the best of ways. And that's it. That is my review of Crime Scene, a poetry collection by Cynthia Pelayo. It is put out by Raw Dog Screaming Press. I thoroughly enjoyed this, as well as her other poetry collection, Into the Forest and All the Way Through. I really like how through both of these collections, Pelayo, she really delves in sort of explores the grimy, gritty, sort of obsessive nature we have with death in true crime. And I'm one, I'm also obsessed with true crime. I like how she really explores that through her poetry. But yeah, that's it. So if you have read True Crime, if you have read Crime Scene, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments below. If you've read anything else from Cynthia, let me know what you thought about that as well. Or if you have any poetry collection suggestions that are sort of in the same vein as these two, about murder and death, crime scenes. This one is all about true crime, about missing cases for women. If you have any suggestions for anything that's similar to that, let me know down in the comments as well. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed the review, and if you did, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like or clicking that subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel grow and reach a larger audience so more people can discover the books I'm talking about. But again, that's all the time I have again for you guys today. So thank you for spending your time with me. Again, my name is Brad, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.